Hello, my name is John Kelly, and this is a Mastery Pathway overview for how to use Mastery Pathways on Canvas. So what you see on the screen here is just a basic module that I use in my teaching. This one is kind of a smaller module, as you can see, and that's what I recommend. If you are first starting out with using Mastery Pathways, I recommend that you start small. Pick an activity students tend to struggle with, maybe year to year or unit to unit, and essentially what you want to do with Mastery Pathways is you want to assess student knowledge and tier activities that best help them grow as learners. So for this particular module, what we have here is different activities, and you'll see that each activity has an assigned minimum objective that they have to reach or score. So this one they got to score a 9, a 3, and a 6.99. Later on in a future screencast, I'll explain why this is set at 6.9, because sometimes you get little troubleshooting issues you have to deal with when you're using Mastery Pathways, but that's for a later screencast. When we look here, you can see that this assignment, the key concepts, is utilizing Mastery Pathways, and you also notice that these two assignments have these bubbles here. The reason they do is this tells you that it's linked to another assignment, and it's going to be unlocked depending on how students perform on an assessment that's utilizing Mastery Pathways. So main thing to remember here is if you're using Mastery Pathways, everything in Mastery Pathways is based within a module. So this quiz is how I'm assessing the students' learning over the lesson that we have just completed. So it was on scientific thinking, which you see here. It's on the key concepts. That's what the title's for. The way I have it labeled is 1.2. That's chapter 1, lesson 2. So you kind of get into the naming of different things. Now, when they first log in, the students will not see the two activities above. They'll only see the key concepts. And so they would take the key concepts, and then depending on how they perform, different activities would be unlocked to them. So what that looks like on the teacher side of things is in the editor for the key concepts quiz, the last tab is for Mastery Pathways. And what I've done, it's a 10 points, so you see the total points here, and it automatically breaks it up into 3 groups. So start small. Choose an activity that I like to choose activities that meet the students that aren't quite at grade level. Okay, so the first thing I would do, if you're very basic and just want to see how it runs, maybe you only choose one activity. So that might be a review sheet. And what this is right here is this is a handout, and so I didn't create anything new. This is what I've used prior to using Mastery Pathways as like an intervention. And the students would be assigned this if they scored less than a 70%. And on this particular quiz in Canvas, all 10 questions are graded automatically by the computer. So they're in a multiple choice, matching, whatever format the computer can grade automatically. And then the students are then given this activity if they score below a 7 right away. And if we look back at how the module's set up, the module's set up in a way that they have to complete all the items in the sequential order. So if they take this, and let's say they score a 5, so they get a 5 out of 10, then before they can retake this, they have to first do the review and reinforce. And you notice they have to score at least a 9 on that. So what happens is they have to complete this worksheet, and usually we do it one-on-one or in a small group, and they have to bring it to me, we'll review it together, and that's my intervention there for those students. And they can't advance in the course until we work together, until I review and I feel comfortable that they can retake this key concepts assessment. And that's why it's set up like that intentionally, because I want them to review and reinforce their skills before they take another crack at this activity here. The review and reinforce paper a lot of times does not count towards a grade, it's just practice. Okay, but they still got to get that minimum score. So if we go back, the next activity here that you see is for the middle group, and it's anywhere between a 7 and a 9. So if they score like an 8.99 or a 7, then they get assigned this activity. And this is healing with magnetism. This ties in to the grade level standards. So if they score between a 7 and a 9 again, it's a grade level activity that might dig a little bit deeper than what the textbook does, but again, everything is at grade level. Now, if I look back here, same thing. They have to do this right here, healing with magnetism, so those students would not get assigned, they would never see the review and reinforce, and they would get assigned healing with magnetism. And if they wanted to correct this, so let's say they scored an 8 on the key concepts, but they really want to go for the 10, then they can, but first they have to do the grade level activity, because again, it's just going to be more practice, and it's going to make them better learners in the end. Last group I have here is the 9 to 10, so an A minus to an A plus. These students then, to me, they show that they've really mastered that content that was within that assessment, so they're ready to dig a little bit deeper. So I like to choose activities here that expand on what was covered in the lesson. So it might go into maybe a little bit a higher grade level standard, may just dig deeper, and as you advance in your ability to build things here, you can always add different activities, allow them to choose different activities, but I recommend starting small, and that's what I've done here. Is I just have one activity for each group. And again, maybe the first time you use this, you don't have an activity for each group. You just have an activity like, man, I really want maybe my higher kids to do this, to do something different, and this would be a way to do that. And again, you could do that with the low. The whole idea behind this is it's automated, so it allows the students to get assigned the activity that they need to best meet their needs a little bit quicker. They don't have to wait for the teacher to go and evaluate their skills and then pick an activity and then assign it to them. It gets it quicker. It's more efficient. It also allows students to work at their own pace a little bit better because they get their activity and they're immediately working on activity that best meets their needs, which is always a great practice for teachers. And last thing I just want to encourage you to do is just remember that trial and error are excellent teachers here. I've used Mastery Pathways for a while now, and by no means are the activities I pick the best all the time, but trial and error, you learn every time, and in the end, it is great practice to do. So again, my name is John Kelly. Feel free to, if you see me in the hallway, you can say hi. I also have my contact information on screen in case you have any questions about the screencast and any of the information in here. Thank you.